Hey guys, Solomon here. Hope you're having a good day. Recently I got the chance to play 11 Hippopotamus Defense games. I play the Hippo. You know what it's about, right? But I played in the title Tuesday, okay? And I played against players with the following titles, and in every single game, I played the Hippo. Out of 11 games, I finished out with a score of 4. I think I got a couple of draws and 3 wins. Not an amazing performance by any means. Not terrible either. Really, every player in this thing is good. We got Hikaru, Carlsen, Naroditsky, Shankland. The list goes on and on. Some really high-level players. And you're only allowed in this tournament if you are titled. So that basically means that no game is going to be easy, right? So, but I think that this has been a kind of a cool experience for me, just to play through a full titled Tuesday and play the Hippo against a titled player every single game. And most games I actually came out with a better position, but it's hard. 3+1. There's going to be mistakes from both sides in most cases. So all that to say, I hope that you enjoy this video. In this video, we're going to be going over 3 of those games. No, not my 3 wins. We're going to be going over what I consider to be my most interesting loss, my most interesting draw, and finally my most interesting win. Okay, we're going to be looking at this from a Hippopotamus Defense perspective. So if you do play the Hippo, I highly recommend that you watch this to the end. Even if you don't, there's going to be a lot of general strategy, tips, tactics, and just chess principles that I like to show in my videos. I try my best to structure my videos in a way that even if you don't play the Hippo or whatever opening I'm talking about, you can still get a lot out of it. Let's just get into it. Okay, here's the first game. I'm going up against a CM who is rated 2597, playing with the white pieces. I play this move of G3. Okay. Knight F6, I'm fee and kiddo my bishop, and I just get into my regular Hippo. The second I see G6, I'm playing B3 because the moment that bishop fee and kiddos, I want mine to be fee and coded as well. I don't want to be behind in the race if I don't have to, right? And there's going to be games where that happens, but generally, I just want my bishop here right when they fee and kiddo their bishop. That way, whenever this knight moves, I can have vision on that fee and kiddoed piece. D6 is played. I play this move D3. And we just keep, going with our regular Hippo, setting everything up. H3, B6 is played here. And in this position, I play A3. Now, A3 was probably not super necessary, simply based on the fact that there's a pawn on C5, and by playing A3, we're never going to be able to play B4, right? The only thing that A3 does do is it actually helps us play C4, just because we're not so worried about knight B4 anymore, right? If our pawn's on A3. But overall, I would probably say A3 isn't super necessary. If I had to do it again, I would probably castle kingside here. But I did play A3. We have bishop B7. And at this point, I go, you know what, whatever. Let's just start advancing in the center. You're going to give me space. I'll take it. And just a quick note, I know in past videos I've talked about this whole sacrifice idea, but in this case it doesn't work, okay? Because when we capture this bishop on G7, there's no free pawn for this knight to take, right? In fact, if you take a pawn, we're going to capture your knight, right? And once you take our bishop, we're up 2 pawns for a piece here. White here is just simply better. Simply better. We can do, rook F1, king back, make it look like we castled normally, and just keep playing. And if the knight doesn't take here and they capture our bishop, well, in that case, now we're up a piece for 1 pawn. So, after E4, there's really no tactics here for that knight. Rook A8 is played. I ended up playing the move of Rook A2. One thing that I like about the Hippo is that it can really fit to certain players' styles. And recently I've been kind of messing around more and more with this queen to the corner idea, depending on black structure. The game follows me castling and then playing queen A1. Notice, you can take this pawn all you want. I am threatening your knight on F6. Black locks it down, and some might go, well, that was just a complete waste of time. Why did you bring your queen to the center if it's going to get locked down? Maybe I wanted it to get locked down. Maybe the Hippo player wants things to get closed, and in this case, we play F4, 2 pawns, wiping out half of the 5th rank. I liked my position here. Knight E8 is played, and now, okay, yeah, sure. Now that you've pushed this pawn so far, okay, I'll reroute my queen, right? This is a closed position. There's not pieces flying everywhere. There's not pawns falling off. It's still 8 pawns against 8 pawns. Because of that, we have the flexibility to maneuver our pieces and not, feel the need to try to win this game in 5 moves. Okay. In fact, it's a bad idea to do that. Here, my opponent, plays this move of E5, and I ended up playing F5. Okay. I've always been a big fan of this. A lot of my private students as well, like, the HIPPO or other kind of F4 opening systems. This can include the Grand Prix attack, the British Grand Prix attack, the Vienna game, the Vienna Gambit. There's a lot of F4 openings where if you can get F5, you have a lot of leverage, right? I mean, for example, let's just say black decides to take. I love this position after E takes personally. Okay, I'm going to take away from the center. Usually in chess, we take towards the center, but oftentimes in the HIPPO, we actually take away. Why is that? Well, because we have 2 fianchettoed bishops. In this case, our bishop just got more active. And on top of that, the E4 square is available. Okay, let's say a move like knight f6 is played, G4. I mean, let's start eyeing G5 if you want to stop that. Now that, notice black has worked very hard here to make this bishop not active. Okay, let's drop it back. Now it's a much more active piece. The queen comes over. Let's start shuffling those knights. Knight G3, knight D, E4. Notice the control that we have over E4 and just how active that knight is. I mean, it really is attacking a lot of squares here. G5 is an idea that we can be looking at. And if you want to take, okay, we'll take back with the piece, right? If something like F6, let's play H4, we're still eyeing G5. And I think overall white just has a much better position. If you look at the activity of pieces and really potential pawn breaks, I mean, this pawn cannot move. I mean, I guess it could, but why? This pawn literally cannot move. Neither can this one. Neither can this one. This one, double pawn clamp on C4, right? And you're just way behind in the race right now. And this bishop on G7, you might as well just make it a pawn. You might as well. Okay, so F5 here. My opponent wisely did not take, but instead played the move of bishop H6. I decided to match that energy with bishop C1, going for that minor piece, B5, and I shuffle over, offering a trade. Now, I'm actually pretty happy with this trade because I just traded off a bishop on B2 for a bishop on G7. Neither bishop was super active, but their bishop was in front of their king, right? In fact, it was a fianchettoed bishop in front of their king. So now there's a lot of dark squared weaknesses, including H6 and F6, right? My opponent here plays F6, very good move, trying to kind of, do some repairs to those dark square weaknesses. And I continue here with H4. Okay, H4, not the best move, honestly. I think if I had to do it again, maybe I'd play G4 there. But yeah, H4, just trying to advance. C4 is played, and here I continue with bishop H3. I love this idea as well. Whenever my bishop is locked, I love looking at F1 or H3 as white, right? And same with the other bishop. In fact, we saw that in this game. And just in general, I don't care what opening you're playing. If you have a fianchettoed bishop, if you're playing the Benko Gambit, right? If you're playing the King's Indian attack, King's Indian defense, if you're playing the King's fianchetto opening, there's so many, right? There's so many openings where we fianchetto a bishop. Just remember, if the bishop ends up not being super active, sure, maybe you're not on the longest diagonal on the board, but you're on the, you're on H3 to C8 or F1 to A6. 2 very long diagonals here. A lot of activity, right? And in this case, if they take, we get a very nice bishop. If they don't take, at some point, our bishop can unleash, and you really can't block it down, right? G5 here just simply drops a pawn. So bishop C8 is played. Black now is matching my energy on that diagonal, right? And I continue here with the move of knight to E1. Not the best move, not terrible, but not the best. I think it's the 3rd best option according to the engine. Now it's saying it's not the 3rd, but you get the point. It's not terrible. The engine, it's always going back and forth on what to do. Knight E1 is going all over the place, but overall the engine likes G4, right? Which makes sense. I mean, G4 just advancing on the king side. We're going to look to tuck this knight. That's good chess. But instead I play this move of knight E1, just immediately trying to support that pawn on F5. My opponent plays knight D6. Now I continue with G4. And against knight A5, black here is trying to, create some chances. I decided to just kick that knight back and then play knight G3, right? I'm really trying to keep this side closed and keep the king side very active, right? Very, very complicated, a lot of tension. That's what we want. We want this side of the board, the king side, to be open because we're attacking on this side. Okay, but on this side of the board, we're obviously not that well equipped to play an active game with our current piece placement. So let's keep that side closed. A5 is played. I end up taking. I'm playing queen h6. Now, right when I played this, I realized that my opponent can play knight f7. They did, and I go right back, and that's fine. I mean, honestly, this knight is a little bit weak now as well, as f6 is a little bit vulnerable. My opponent tries to solve this with king g7, and I play g5. Okay, at this point, we're just playing really with intuition. As you can see, I'm down on the clock. I have 58 seconds. My opponent has 2 minutes and 33 seconds. And honestly, going forward into Titled Tuesday events, I think one of the things I want to work on is playing faster. Okay. I'm used to classical time controls, even 5+0, 10+0. And I do play bullet as well, but I've kind of been tapering off of that because I've been considering making a return to competitive chess. But yeah, I mean, after g5, right, I'm down on the clock, but I had a strong feeling that this is the kind of tension we need, right? 2-on-2, a lot going on here, and a king right on g7. My opponent takes, I capture back, knight g6 is played, knight f3. I'm trying to get my pieces active. Black here takes a pawn, but notice by doing that, they weakened h5. I throw in a check, okay? Now, this position is just about dead even according to the engine. King g8 could have been played, but, white here, a lot of fun attacking chess. People say that the Hippo is timid and that it's slow. Sure, it's not a fire that gets made in 4 moves. Maybe it's a fire that gets made in 30 moves or 20 moves or 18 moves, but it is a fire that can take place, right? We start slow and we just keep building and building and building on it. In this case, if you want to take another pawn, let's capture off your bishop. Notice that taking this rook, that actually just gives us the file. Whoever takes first on the file loses it. So, after rook takes, which is the best move here, I have knight f6 to check. If you want to run, c3. By the way, I did not make that move up. C3, and really most of these moves are engine moves. Really, all of them are, okay? But C3, when we talk about engine moves, like up to this point, I think a lot of those moves are pretty, a human can play them. C3, the engine's going, you know what, there's so much tension here. Let's just add to it. Let's just offer both of your pawns up. But the whole idea is that this rook can come to G2 or to H2. Very active major piece, okay? If the queen takes, queen D1 is the engine move here. Would I have found these moves? No. Is it interesting? Yes. If queen takes, we have knight G6 with check as an option. Queen H5 is also a really good move. But knight G6, if you take, we have rook H2. You can block with the queen if you want, but at some point it's just going to be game over. So all I have to say, after knight H5, a lot can happen here. King H8 was played. I ended up pushing with G6. My opponent played the one move that gives them a non-lost game, and that is rook G8. I threw in a check. And after taking, yet again, they played the one move that does not give them a completely lost game with rook G8. I ended up playing king H2, just getting my king off of that file. My knight was pinned, right? And after rook captures, I play queen H6. Notice I'm attacking this knight. And if this knight moves, this knight falls. If you try to defend it with a rook, we can throw in a check. And we can snatch off a knight, or even go for a mate in 5 here. Throw in another one, rook G1, throw in another check, and finish this thing out. So black here, again, has to play very good defensive chess. There were really only 2 moves that were good here, and black finds the best one. I drop my rook back to A1. And after captures, I played knight G5 here. Notice, guys, I have 17 seconds. Okay, I have 17 seconds. I make some mistakes at the end of the game here. Again, I think, time management is a big deal, especially when it's 3+1, but it is +1. So as long as I can make every move within 1 second, I'm okay. I ended up playing this move of knight G5, which, gives us an even game. A better move was rook G1. This is crushing, right? We're threatening mate. This knight's under attack. If that one moves, that knight's under attack. Just a lot's hanging in the balance here. If you take, we capture back. We're threatening mate again. The second you stop that, let's bring another piece in. We're threatening a fork. I mean, there's just too much going on here. Black just can't hold on. So, rook G1 there would have been a very nice move. But, with 6 seconds used, I play the move of knight G5. Here's my idea, right? If rook takes, rook F8 check, right? If queen captures, rook F8 check, thank you for the queen. So even though that knight on G5, right, might look like it's hanging, it's really not. If you take it either way, you're losing your queen. My opponent, of course, doesn't do that. They take on h3. Here I play rook f6. I mean, 3 seconds on the clock, guys. This was just a desperation move. Turns out black had knight f5. They missed it. You know, I think here, I mean, with the amount of time that black has on the clock, they could have spent more time, right? I mean, if you're up on the clock, you should use it, especially in a position like this where things are tense. Knight f5, very good move for black, simply winning. But queen g8 is played. I ended up playing the move of rook g1 here, which is the engine move. Knight e7 is played. And I thought about rook takes d6 for a split second. And if I had to do it again, I would take the knight. I mean, it's just a piece. Why not take it? Your attack's not over. You're only going to be down 1 point in material now. But instead, I play this move, knight takes h7. Black here could have played rook g2. But instead, they take on h7 with the queen. Okay? And yeah, I mean, this is a crazy position. I threw in a check. Notice here, if rook g8, there's only 2 moves here. The queen can't block. If rook g8, yeah, we throw in a check, game over. My opponent here plays the move of knight g8. I knew there was something here. This looked like a chess puzzle. I knew there was something. I knew there was some kind of mating pattern, but in the span of 3 seconds, I just couldn't find it. I played this move of rook takes g8, okay? What should have I went with? Rook takes g7. Isn't that just gross? I mean, oh my gosh, it's gross. It's gross. It's disgusting. There's no other way around it. I mean, we're threatening mate. We're threatening mate. We're threatening mate. We're threatening mate. We have 4 mate threats right now. Okay. And if you take my queen, rook f takes g8, game over. No matter what black does, the next move, we win. So that would have been a crazy finish, but I did not see that. I played this move of rook takes g8. My opponent should have captured with the king because notice there's no free checks there. Queen e6 is covered. If we trade a rook, black's okay with that. They're up material. Instead, they take with the rook. Now I have queen f6. And in this position, I knew I had a perpetual. I knew I did, right? Rook g7 was played. I throw in a check. Queen back, I throw in a check. Queen went to h7. Here, I pre-moved queen f6 because for whatever reason, I was thinking they would play, you know, rook h7. I thought in either case, queen f6 was the move, but that's not true, right? If queen here, we throw in check. And again, I knew this was a draw, but I pre-moved queen f6. My opponent played bishop g2 a check. I ran out of time. And even if I had all the time in the world, it doesn't matter because I have to give up my queen and then I get mated. Okay, so crazy game. Again, going back, this is a perpetual. There's no way around it, right? And I saw that. I didn't use my, my pre-move feature very well. Here, queen d8, right? If you block with the rook, boom. With the rook, boom. Queen, boom, right? We're always going to have one of these 3 squares available to check the king. There's just no way around it. The only way that black can try to get out of it, again, we're just going to keep going all day long. We're good, right? I mean, we're just going to keep going until the, chess.com tells us that we can't go anymore. The only way to get out of this is by playing knight e8, but then we just take a knight, right? Queen g8, boom, we throw in a check. If you block with the rook, I mean, thanks for your queen. If you block with the queen, we're just going to do this all day. So it was a dead draw, but I messed up when it came to the pre-move, right? Because I just miscalculated. Overall, thought it was an interesting game. I thought, I had a pretty good position there. I ended up, bringing that queen to the corner. Things got locked down. Great. Let's start pushing on the king side. I got a pretty fun attack, right? Got a pretty fun attack there, but just couldn't convert things at the end. But yeah, I mean, a position like this, knight h5 check, knight h4 ideas in the air. Really, it came down to a couple of different moves. My favorite move that I did not play, right, was here. Rook takes g8 is what was played, right? But rook takes g7. I mean, this is one of the, I'm not joking, this is one of the prettiest moves I've ever seen. I mean, that in my opinion, that's crazy, okay? And I didn't play it, but that would have been a crazy find. And it is a really nice tactic, right? It's a nice idea. It's kind of like, look, when I take, I'm threatening mate 4 different ways. If you take my queen, I mate you. That's it. Hey guys, I really quickly wanted to tell you about something that we've been working on for over a year. I have partnered with Coastline Creative and we have come out with some exclusive Chess Giant merch. Okay, we got t-shirts, hoodies, tote bags, and more. And if you're interested in getting 10% off, all you got to do is go to my website, okay, and on there you'll get invited to join my email list. Join my email list, and I will send you the discount code there. On top of that, if you want to get 20% instead of 10%, all you got to do is become a supporter on my Patreon. Become a patron, and you will get 20% off of all Chess Giant merch in the future. Okay, I hope you guys like the designs. Let me know what you think of them down in the comment section below. Let me know any ideas that you have for future, clothing ideas, design ideas, and all that kind of good stuff that we can put on the site. And yeah, let's get back to the video. Let's now take a look at the second game of today's video, in which case I'm playing against a 25-26 rated National Master. Here I was playing with the white pieces again, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this one. Let's get into it. So here we go. Playing as white, I play G3, Bishop G2, D3. 1, 2, 3. That's how I start my games, right? Knight F6 is played. I continue with the move of E3. And following Bishop F5, I ended up, playing H3. Sometimes I mix these two moves up when it comes to Knight E2 or H3. They're kind of interchangeable, honestly. But yeah, I play H3, E6, Knight E2. And just keep playing, right? Keep going into our natural Hippopotamus Defense setup. Castle kingside, I play Knight D2, Knight BD7, I castle kingside. Okay, now Bishop H7 is played. I've seen this happen, and what Black is trying to do here is play prophylactically. They see that G4 could happen, so they're dropping their bishop back. Now, some might say that this bishop is not very good, and I understand that. At the same time, it is a good defensive presence for Black. It's doing a lot better right now than it would be on C8, but things can go south for Black pretty quick, okay? I play this move of G4. If Black thinks they can play H5, which didn't happen in the game, but if Black thinks they can do this, G5 is a monstrous move for White, forcing Knight E8. Now we play a move like H4. These might look overextended, but because of Black's current structure, there's really no way for them to take advantage of it. If they play a move like F6, Knight F4, attacking E6 and H5, and yeah, let's say something like G6, your bishop might as well be a pawn. Might as well. I mean, that bishop is horrible. Our bishop on B2, on the other hand, one of the best bishops I've seen. Okay, I mean, just slicing and dicing all the way down to G7 and H8. This king cannot even move because of our bishop on B2, right? Whereas this bishop can't move because of, well, its own pieces, right? So, okay, G4 is played, A5. Here I play the move of A4. I could have went with A3, right? A3 and play into this kind of position, in which case oftentimes Black plays C5. I played that kind of thing. It's a more or less, pretty even evaluation. Maybe a slight advantage for Black according to the engine. But again, if the engine says it's plus or minus, in this case, 0.13, I don't care. I don't care. What I care about is getting a position that I like, okay? And that's something that, I talked about this in a recent video. I would recommend to you guys, don't just look at the computer moves, but also look into the database. And when you're looking at openings, don't just look at what the engine says is best, but look at what performs well. Right? If there's a move that, gives White a 0.5 advantage, but it only wins 20% of games, and then there's another one that is a 0.2 advantage, but it wins 88% of games in a large sample size, that shows that that a lot of opponents, a lot of players are having a hard time playing against that kind of move. Okay, so don't just look at the evaluation, look at what is performing well, because if other people are comfortable with it, there's a good chance you will too. Not always, but a good chance. Here I play the move A4 though. I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this, right? My opponent plays B5, continuing to go crazy. I think there's a couple of moves here, that are good. F4 is a good move. I ended up playing the move of Knight G3, just tucking that knight. This is one of my favorite ideas in the Hippo. And after B takes, I ended up capturing back with my rook, putting a little bit of pressure there. Knight C5. Where should I put my rook? What's the best square? Well, not A3. Because a bishop would be eyeing it. Now we have A2 or A1. Which one's better? I think A2 is a little bit better because of the fact that this bishop is defended, and if needed, the queen can come to A1, forming a battery ram two different ways, right? But at the end of the day, this bishop's defended. That's great. I mean, why not? Okay, and the only way for black to really attack this rook is if they start dancing like so. And if they do that, okay, I'll go back. Fine. Right? That's fine. So queen c7 is played. I played h4. Once I tuck this knight, I'm always looking at h4 ideas, trying to push. g4 is now protected by the queen, so this is safe. Knight fd7 is played, and I ended up playing g5. Okay, this is a common hippopotamus defense idea that you can do. That was not the only move here, right? You know, queen a1 here, very good move, right? Threatening that pawn, putting an eye on a5. h5 is a solid move here, knight f3 defending the pawn, but I particularly like these kind of positions, especially in a shorter time control, even in a long time control. I mean, this is a sound position. I played the move of queen g4, attacking the bishop. If you run away here or something, guess what? We have mate because of our very strong bishop on b2. Bishop f6 is played. I ended up playing bishop a3, just kind of rerouting, right? Pinning that knight to the rook. And yeah, rook f8 is played. I play knight h5. Here, white has a huge threat. Let's just say black wastes a move, okay? And they play a move like rook a b8. Let's just say they make a move somewhere. The threat is not to take here right away, because the knight would capture back and attack our queen, but to take the knight on c5 and then take on f6 with check. Now we're simply up a piece for a pawn. And okay, I mean, let's snatch off a rook. Let's double up here, go after a5. We're up 4 points of material, y'all. We'll take it. Knight h5. My opponent here plays the best move possible with knight a6, just getting that knight the heck out of there, and that was a good idea. Here I play the move f4, trying to expand. Knight b4 is played, and I played the move of bishop takes b4, and I didn't really even think about it much. Okay, but it turns out, according to the engine, rook b2 was the best move. That never crossed my mind. It never did. Never did. But it is interesting, okay, because our rook, I mean, we are saving our rook. It's not getting captured. And if you do capture it with the bishop, the engine gives a big advantage to white now, around +1. We're threatening mate, and we have a knight, and a bishop, and a queen, right? A lot of pressure on g7, right? If you play a move like bishop g6, we capture on g7. You know, if you play the move of pawn to g6, we can throw in a little check there. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. At the end of the day, if the king goes here, you're in the bishop's line of fire. If you want to go run away to f8 or something, queen h4 is the move there to keep an eye on that e7 square, as well as attack that minor bishop. And if knight takes, we capture back with our bishop. This is what we call black being in a really bad bind, right? You know, black can play queen f8. They can stop us from coming in here, but we can play a move like rook f3. We could even play a move like king f2 if we want to. This rook is coming over. Black does have a lot of pieces over here. They do. But they can't even move. This bishop cannot move. The king cannot move. The rook cannot move in a good defensive way. The queen cannot move without getting captured. The top engine move is queen g7, guys. So black's pretty done here, right? But okay, knight b4. I didn't play that move rook b2. Instead, I played the move of bishop takes b4. I ended up capturing the rook and then playing rook f3, going for some kind of rook lift. I saw this move bishop f5, and I thought about taking the bishop here, but I ended up just dropping this queen back, playing my king up, and now my opponent makes a mistake with the move of g6. Against this, I noticed that I'm able to trap their bishop on f5. It has nowhere to go anymore, right? And you can't take my knight. It's pinned. The pawn's pinned. So, okay, my opponent takes. I capture back. Rook to d1. I go, okay, thanks for the bishop. Rook takes d2, and I take on g6. Okay, so sure, they got a piece too, but I ended up taking a bishop and a pawn. I'm trying to break things open like crazy here. King f8. I missed the move of g7 check, right? 39 seconds. I played, knight takes f6 after some thought. And I was thinking about this move of g7 check because, I mean, if the king runs, then thanks for this second queen. But I thought after king g8, it just looked like, I mean, okay, it looks like black kind of has everything under control, right? At least in terms of finding a clear tactic. But it turns out we can take on f6, queen h4, threatening mate, threatening the knight. If knight h7 or something, rook h3, just barreling down that h-file. If king captures, rook h3 is the move. We have a 1 and a 2 threat, mate and 2 threat there. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways black can try to defend here, but at the end of the day, they're only up 1 point in material. Only up 1 pawn, and this is a huge threat. no matter what you do, we're going to have so many ideas. And if a move like king f8 trying to run, let's take the knight. Let's take it. If the king wants to keep running, that's fine. We're just going to keep taking stuff. Throw on a check. Black's probably not going to survive this very long. But after the move king f8, I missed that g7 move. I play the move of knight takes on f6 and play queen g5. Now, this is still fine. I mean, this is not losing for white at all. King e7 is played. I play the best move here of g7, and here I miss rook h3 and rook h8, right? I play rook g3. Again, could have played this. It was hard. I have 12 seconds on the clock, guys. It's tough to find these kind of moves, but I'm hoping that playing it again, more titled Tuesdays can help me improve in my, kind of fast tactics in these complicated positions. I instead played this move of f5, just trying to break things open. e5 is played. I drop my queen back. I throw in a check. Knight d7. And here, this is a move that is extremely hard to find. And this is, I'm even talking about in classical chess. This would be a hard move to find. Okay. And I have 9 seconds and my opponent has 30. Okay. And this is the only move that gives white a 1 game. f6 check. Beautiful move. The idea is that we're trying to disrupt black's piece placement, right? And, really, I mean, let's say a move like, king takes f6 happens. Now we have rook d3. You might ask, wait, why did we push the pawn first? Well, if we play rook d3 right away, black has a check, right? But, instead of doing that, if we play f6 and the king takes and then we play rook d3, there's no check anymore. And this knight's going to drop. We're going to win that knight. Okay. Let's say the queen takes, right? Trying to keep options open. Well, now rook d3 is a really bad idea because, there's so many checks available to black. But what can we do to not allow checks? Bishop h3. Even f2 is not allowed. Well, I mean, I guess it's allowed technically, but thanks for the queen. We have a huge eye on that knight. If the rook wants to block and try to defend, we can just promote, and the rook's going to be trying to look at a second queen and defend the knight. It's just not going to work. And if queen d6, now we come back. Because of that bishop h3 move, there's no check now. Okay, very hard move to find though. f6 with check. Okay, I'll be honest. There were some moves where, even the rook takes g7 move we talked about earlier, I'm going, gosh, I know I only had a few seconds, but I wish I found that. f6, I mean, I don't know. That's just hard to find. I didn't feel too bad about that one. I played queen f2, queen h6. I ended up blocking. I took a pawn. You see a pawn, take a pawn. Took a knight, and here I just started checking black like crazy, and we ended up with a perpetual. Okay. Interesting game there. I mean, I think overall I got a pretty good position out of the opening. Got some good advancement in terms of the king side, and I like this rook a2 idea, right? When you take a pawn in the hippo like that and you bring the rook back, don't bring it all the way back to a1, right? Put it on a2. That's going to defend the bishop. It's going to give you that a1 square to either put the queen or the other rook later on in the game. And again, I sacrificed a pawn here, but it led to a fun attack. Okay, and again, you don't have to play that kind of gambity pawn push, but it is a lot of fun, and it's especially dangerous when you have not castled yet, because you can put one rook here, maybe even castle queenside, put a second rook, and just barrel down like there's no tomorrow. It's a ton of fun. And finally, for the third game, we have one of my wins against WIM Ghost underscore. Is it underscore? What's that mean? What's that little symbol mean right here? I don't know. Pepper. But yeah, here we go. I'm playing as white. She's rated 2485 in blitz. I play g3, and you know what we're doing, right? 1, 2, and 3. I just get into my regular setup. Not too much to talk about here. b3. Now here in this position, right? Black could have, right? They didn't, but black could have played this move of knight e4. Okay. When you see this kind of situation arise, you have two options. Okay, one of them is to run away with the rook. Notice in this case, there's no hanging pawn here. I mean, you can sack all you want. It's not going to do anything. If you run, let's say back to f6, okay, I mean, you just kind of went in a circle. We continue our hippo structure. I'm cool with that. If you play the move of knight to c3, Well, we kind of got to take because we don't want to lose our queen. So we'll take that off. And then here there's a couple of different options. We can play g4. That's a playable move. Bishop e2 is also playable. And what happens is black gets in this situation where, they have a very active bishop, but then they realize they can't bring it back. Or if they do bring it back, it can still get captured. Okay. And if they take here, we have a fianchettoed rook. I don't recommend that you just go start fianchettoing rooks all the time, obviously, because the rook doesn't move diagonal. I mean, that rook it can barely move. But at the same time, even though these squares are a little bit weakened, so are black's, right? So it's kind of a give and take. My bishop that was fianchettoed is gone all of a sudden, and so is yours. So both sides feel it a little bit. And in this case, I actually like it for white because it's their king side that got weakened, not their queen side. Okay. But all right, b3 is played. My opponent does not go with that. I play knight c6. I play bishop b2, e5, and I play rook b1. Now, the only reason I played this, I believe, is because this was a blitz game, 3+1. I'm trying to play faster at this point. In the title Tuesday, I'm starting to figure out that playing slowly doesn't really get the job done when you're playing 3+1. Even if you can get the good positions, you still have to convert them. And title players never make it easy, right? Even if they know they're losing, they're going to make it as hard as possible. The reason I played that was because, I hadn't really processed e5 being played yet. And I wanted this bishop to be defended just in case there was ever tension here. For example, right? Let's just say black plays this or something, okay? And we play this move of f4, right? Not in this particular case because we can simply capture the knight. But there's a lot of, situations that can arise where, black gets some kind of tactical idea by like moving a knight somewhere. They're attacking our bishop. If we take the bishop, boom, they take a pawn, and it just gets really messy. Okay, so that's why. Sometimes when there's that tension there, I'll just play the rook b1 move, very quiet, but then I don't got to worry about that ever again. But yeah, with the pawn on e5, there's really no point. So I would probably recommend here a move like castling kingside. That's fine. If you need to later, king h2, you're chilling. But okay, rook b1 is played, d4. I ended up deciding to lock this thing up. And after bishop e6, castle kingside. In this kind of position, we don't want to ever push the c pawn because then they would take, our pawn on d3 would be backwards, and they'd have a hole on d4 to work with. This pawn stays stuck. This one pushes like crazy. f4, attacking the pawn, looking at f5. We're actually threatening to trap their bishop right now. If they just waste a move or something, f5, you can take all you want. Your bishop still has nowhere to safely go. This is crushing for white. So after f4, my opponent, a WIM, almost 2,500 online. They're obviously not going to fall for that. She here plays the move of f5, and I ended up taking. I tend to like to, when I get this kind of pawn cube 2-on-2 kind of thing, I like to take away from the center sometimes if I have a fianchettoed bishop, because I take away from the center, and then on top of that, on top of my bishop being active, I can throw a knight into a square like e4, right? If you want to take here, that's fine, right? We're always able to take back, and queen e7 was played. The engine's saying to take here and play knight f4. I think for my style of play, if I had to do this again, I would probably play bishop c1, right? Because I played queen d2 in the game, but right when I played it, I noticed, oh wait, the bishop can pin my pawn, right? She didn't play this, and even if she did, it's fine. I mean, it's a pin, it's annoying for white, but it's not the end of the world. It's really hard for black to find some kind of way to convert that, but all that to say, the queen on d2 is not doing that much. I would much rather get this bishop that is not very active and reroute it to c1, okay? But queen d2 is played, rook a8. The one good thing about it is I'm able to get both my rooks in the center, then come back to c1, and knight d5 is played. I saw knight e3 was on the way, so I went, you know what? I'm going to get the heck out of there so that a bishop can take if they play it. She did. I ended up capturing, and here played the move of queen c1, going for that pawn. Notice here, though, how quickly white can fall apart. This is a dead even position, okay, after queen c1. Dead even, very close to dead even. But even a little move like that, and rook d8 can be played, and I can't actually take this pawn, guys. This is a huge mistake. If I take the pawn, they capture on f4, and my rook has to run away again. Let's say I take with the pawn or with the rook. Either way. They can pin my rook, or even better, just take a free piece. And it's free because I can't capture it back without losing my rook on e3. right? So I got to be more subtle about this. I can't be putting pieces on this diagonal. I got to really be subtle about it. Attack that pawn. E takes, F4 is played. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at this move of knight d4. My plan for this, I was hoping she would play this. My plan for this was to play c3. Now you got to run away or take on e2. If you do that here, you can take on e4 all you want. We'll capture back with our bishop. If you take on f4, we can take back with the g pawn, just because we don't want our rook getting kicked by a bishop on h6 there. And, okay, I mean, if white wants to go crazy now with queen h4, we take a pawn. We're up a pawn, but black does have compensation here. Neither side is winning. This game could go either way. I could see a lot of games, going in the direction of black finishing out a great attack. I could see a lot of games where black can't quite get it done and white's just up a pawn in the endgame. I could see it where black wins the pawn back in the attack and then we have a dead even draw. There's a lot of possibilities, but both players here have a lot of life left. But yeah, e takes, f4 was played instead of that, and against that I capture back with my knight. Notice just how active my knights are, right? They're doing a lot in this position. Bishop e5 is played. And here, the engine says king h1 because they're not too worried about h4. I was a little bit worried about h4 just blasting open the king side, so I just, I just went, we're playing 3+1. I just got to lock this down, make sure that black can't do anything here. Bishop g4 is played, and this was a blunder because of knight takes g6, attacking the rook, attacking the queen, attacking the bishop. When you take, I capture back with my rook. Queen g7, I capture off, take off another pawn. I'm now up 2 pawns of material. Rook f8 is played. Not the best move, but at the same time, it's hard because, what is black going to do there? Now that we're up in material, we're going to try to trade down, and black really can't avoid it because their king is so wide open. Even right now, we're looking at queen g5 check ideas, trading off queens. But okay, rook f8 is played. I see here that I can take the rook, take the pawn on c5, and now we're up 3 pawns in the endgame. Okay, so I knew I had this game won. On top of that, as y'all can see, she is having trouble on the clock, and that's, I already knew this, right? I've been playing chess for a long time, but it's just a good reminder. The clock makes a huge difference when you're playing speed chess, right? There were games, including the first one. I probably would have won that if I had more time, right? And there's been games where I've played where I probably would have lost if my opponent had more time, right? But the clock just makes a big difference. Okay, in this case, my pawn was attacked. I ended up trying to save it. It didn't because I just get forked. So there's that. But all right, I take a pawn. I start pushing this pawn down like crazy. Again, here, I do have 55 seconds. I can afford 10, 15, 20 seconds here to think. I can afford a 5-second think, right? I used 1 second. What I should have done is went, I'm up 2 pawns of material. Let's hold on to it. And then keep pushing. Okay, there's no rush. Hold on to your material and keep going. But I played d5. I just went, whatever. I'm going for it. Bishop c6 with check. Black ends up blocking. I go back. I was a little bit concerned about taking. Now I am up material, but I was worried about this because notice my knight cannot move right now without getting captured. The knight literally cannot move. On top of that, black can play a move like king c8 as an example, right? And even if the knight could move safely, I lose a pawn. So I didn't like this. Of course, the engine's telling me g4 is the one move here that wins the game. This is a winning position for white after some crazy variations, but I'm going to take an easy win over a complicated one. I'm going to take a smooth win over a risky one if I have the chance. So I go, you know what? Let's just drop the bishop back. I know I'm better here, right? Now it's time to activate this king. We're only up 1 pawn, but this pawn is very far advanced, so black needs to be worried about it. I'm really going for that h5 pawn now. I save my bishop. Notice that this bishop is neutralizing that knight. That knight cannot get any closer to the bishop without the bishop seeing it right there. Bishop c6 is played. I ended up capturing. And now, right, I could have played a move like king g5, but if I play that, again, king d7, this knight is frozen in a sense, because if it moves, I lose a pawn. So I wanted to play knight c5 because now we have a nice wall. Every single one of these squares is attacked by a white piece, including this one too. Okay, it's going to be hard for black to get to that pawn now. it's going to be tough. So that's why I played that move, right? When you have a pawn and you're able to support it with a knight one square diagonal, either to the left or to the right on the bottom side, this builds a nice wall for you to work with. Okay, a5 is played. I end up going for that pawn, taking it. I could have took the knight, but that would have been a huge mistake because I'm up material, but this pawn's going to run, and I'm way outside of the box, as y'all can see. So this king can't even get close. So I save my knight, king over, pawn up, king over, king over. Here I ended up going for the flank idea, just playing aggressively with my king. 1, 2, 3. I'm threatening this. Black stops it. Let's push another pawn. Let's push that pawn. You can't stop both, right? You can't stop this one and that one. Here she decides to take on d6. I promote to a queen. Knight b5 check, king b6. Black resigns here. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope that you enjoyed the ideas in it. Let me know if you want me to make more videos like this, just covering, a few, just playing Entitled Tuesday, playing nothing but the Hippo 411 games and showing you a few of them, okay? I don't want to be one of those YouTubers that only shows you their wins, okay? I know that's a big stereotype, and rightfully so, that chess YouTubers only show their wins. I want to be showing you guys my losses too, okay? So I'm going to be trying to show you my interesting games, winning games too, games that the Hippo pulls out, but also losses, right? It's not just about how do we win. It's about what do we avoid, right? What do we avoid when we're playing chess? What kind of moves should we not be playing, right? And what are some missed tactics that can be seen, okay? I will say too, from a personal level, this has been a lot of fun to play Entitled Tuesday and just show you guys these games. I hope that it helps you. On top of that, it's helping my game too. I did not expect when I did YouTube that videos would help my game, but they have more than I could even describe. Okay, so I thank you all for tuning in. Thank you guys for supporting. And if you're interested in learning more about the Hippo in depth, I made a 6-hour course on it. Over 6 hours of content. Hundreds have gotten it, and many have told me that they enjoyed it a ton. The Hippo really is a gold gem. It's a gold mine. It's, people want to talk about it, but it really is a solid system. Okay, as y'all can see here, in all 3 of these games, I played the Hippo, and in all 3 of them, I had a dead winning position. So, sure, I lost a lot of games. Sure, I don't win them all, but I don't think that's really the Hippo's fault. I'll get off of my little sales pitch there, but again, I appreciate y'all a ton, really do. I know I'm dragging this out, but it's been fun to do this YouTube channel, and I'm looking forward to making more stuff. Let me know down in the comment section below as well, not just what you thought of this video, but what other kinds of videos you would like to see in the future, as well as any kind of Hippopotamus Defense questions that you may have. I appreciate y'all. See y'all in the next one. Hey, thanks for watching today's video. I wanted to give a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters for the month of April in 2024. Appreciate y'all a ton. And if you haven't thought about becoming a member before on the Patreon community, I highly recommend that you go check it out. Check out some of the benefits that you gain by becoming a member. All that to say, again, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Just a reminder to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and that bell if you don't want to miss out on anything coming your way. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.